You guys should be able to see this now, right? All right, so there's nothing worth showing up here. It's the same two talents, so we're just gonna look at this midsection. So the left side is the current live talent tree, and the right side is the new tree. Or well, most updated, I guess you should say. So, here, let me see. Can I make this? No, it's gonna disappear. There you go. You can see both of them. So they changed Righteous Cause. We don't care about that. What they really changed is Art of War. This was last week's, by the way. So Art of War has like a crit thing now, which is pretty cool. You have this new thing, Burn to Ashes, where all of your dots just do 30% more damage. And again, this is a crit synergy. They added a bunch of mastery synergy, so like your mastery does damage now in addition to increasing your holy damage, and like there's a couple of talents now, so like you have High Lord's Wrath that makes it do 50% more effectiveness, and then you also have Boundless Judgment that also does it. I find it weird that they didn't put that 50% increased chance on improved judgment as well. Now it's just you're guaranteed to take Boundless Judgment. But yeah, so what is it? So 50% increased chance, 50%. I don't know what the current chance is, but you know, there's probably going to be a point where like maybe if you get 50 or 60% mastery, you'll have like 100% chance to get that trigger damage. I'm not really sure. Did they give us better options for single target and AoE? Not yet, but they did reduce the variance, which I like. So if you take a look over here, they changed Final Reckoning and Execution Sentence a bit. So they nerfed Execution Sentence from 30% to 20%, and then they also nerfed the AoE portion of Final Reckoning. So if you use single target, you get a 30% damage increase. If you use AoE, you get a 15% damage increase. So, and by the way, this nerf is a good thing. Like, sometimes you think, oh, nerfs are bad. No, this is actually a good thing. Because, so like, let's say if you took Final Reckoning versus Execution Sentence, there might have been like a 10% variance in single target versus AoE between them or something like that. This will probably bring it down to like 5%. I'm making up numbers here, but you should get the point that like the variance is being reduced greatly. So that's a really good thing. I believe they just buffed Templar Strikes. Yeah, they buffed it by 25%. So from 72 and 89 to 90 and 111. And the interesting thing is you get that burn damage. They added mastery stuff on Divine Arbiter and Searing Light, but honestly, I don't think that matters. Like the fact that High Lord Judgment and Radiant damage has a chance, like that really doesn't matter, but sure. I think it matters more for this one. I would say adding High Lord's Judgment, being able, like you proc Radiant damage like multiple times a second right now. It doesn't matter. But on this one, this is interesting. So High Lord's Judgment, also giving you a stack. I think that's going to double the rate potentially. Well, I mean, it really depends on your mastery, but if your mastery is really high, and like high enough that like you're getting it, I don't know, 70% to 100% of the time, when you use a judgment, instead of getting like one stack, you might be getting two, which could be pretty interesting. If they manage to make Divine Arbiter a little bit stronger and stack up a little bit faster, then you might get a sort of legitimate funnel, which would be pretty cool. Like I'd love to see Ret Paladin have like the ability to have like a funnel talent. The problem with Divine Arbiter right now is, and honestly, this would be cool if they fix it. Divine Arbiter can't crit, and I don't know why this is. It never has been able to. But like the other capstone, which is the AoE version, like Searing Light is literally just the AoE version of Divine Arbiter. That's all it is. And Searing Light can crit. It does all the time. But for some reason, Divine Arbiter doesn't. And it's really weird. They should first make it able to crit. I don't know why it can't. But yeah, if they add more ways to yeah, there's a lot of random stuff I know, but yeah, I don't know why it can't crit, but it can't. I also like that they moved a lot of the power away from it. So it used to also have the 5%. It used to also have like the 5% damage increase on that, and they actually moved that down to Blades of Light. So now Blades of Light is actually like a real talent. Because currently, Blades of Light literally just doesn't do anything. It just makes your abilities do Holy Strike damage. But you always take Crusading Strikes, which is already holy. It's actually no, that's not true. Technically, it is buffing your Crusading Strikes currently, but like that's sort of all it does. Judgment and Hammer of Wrath and single target doing Holy Strike doesn't matter. So now it also just increases the damage of Holy Strike abilities by 5%. So that's really good. Essentially, this is something that's helping also bridge the gap. So remember how I said like, you know, Ret is currently at like 20% damage loss when you go AoE. So like reducing this is going to help reduce that variance probably by, I don't know. I'm going to make up some numbers here. They may or may not be accurate, but I'm doing an educated guess, right? The change that they're doing, the Final Reckoning execution sentence, I'm going to guess that that's going to reduce the variance from 20%, say, maybe 3 to 4% of that. Let's say down to 17. Moving the 5% from here to Blades of Light is probably going to be another 1 or 2%. What else? Actually, no, maybe it's more than that. Maybe that's going to tackle... I'm actually not sure. Maybe that's going to tackle like 5 or 6%. But the point is, the changes that they've made so far probably have reduced the problem by 30 to 40%. There's still a problem, but it's going to be much better than before, is the long and short of it. Also, like putting all that stuff into mastery, and we're going to have our stat prio is probably going to be something like crit mastery now. Obviously, we're not sure yet, but given that they are making mastery scale unbelievably better, like they're going from like, you know, 180 points for 1% down to like, I don't know, back to 112 or maybe 100 or 90. It's something, it's way lower. You know, you get so much more mastery now. And then on top of that, they're also giving an additional bonus damage effect on mastery that your talents can play into as well. Mastery is going to be most likely significantly better than Verse. And then given the fact that they're adding like 5 different crit synergies into our kit, you know, they're giving crit synergy on Art of War, so, you know, instead of a 20% chance to reset the cooldown, you know, it'll be, if you have 30% crit, it'll be like 23%. You know, if you have 50% crit, it'll be like 25% chance, you know. Increasing Art of War is very powerful. And then you get the synergy on Burn to Ashes, that's another one. And then, so that's already a couple. And then there was a couple other synergies with crit as well they added in. Where is it? I'm trying to think where it is. Oh yeah, on the Templar tree. On the Templar tree, if you crit the hammers that fall from the sky, they cleave for like 60% of their damage, which is interesting. And there's a couple other crit synergies. You know, obviously we still have our 5% our 5% increased critical strike damage. Oh yeah, now I remember. They removed the anti-synergy, so that alone is also going to make crit way better. We had the anti-synergy of just Hammer of Wrath always had 100% chance to crit from our class tree, not our spec tree, our class tree. They're changing that to Hammer of Wrath instead deals 50% more damage below 35% health. So like when mobs are in execute range, which they're calling 35%, which is odd considering, hammer is like a 20% execute. But essentially, if they're below 35%, it does 50% more damage. So between getting rid of the anti-synergy and, the synergy on Burn to Ashes and on Art of War, and then also potentially on the hero talents, crit is also going to be way better, right? So I am, and like mastery and crit aren't necessarily, like mastery is kind of meh, but crit has never been a bad stat. We've always wanted a bit of it. I think this is going to more likely than not make us crit mastery mongers. Like we're just going to want shit tons of crit and shit tons of mastery. We'll want whatever haste makes us feel like not a dead spec. And then verse is probably going to be like our backup stat. Like you're just not going to get much of it. And we're just going to rail damage. In the most recent build, the interesting thing is, so they moved a bunch of the talent points. So as you can see, Shield of Vengeance is gone here, and what they've done is Shield of Vengeance is now over here. The problem with this is you're never going to take Aegis of Protection, you're just always going to take Shield of Vengeance. I'm not sure if Blizzard realizes that or not, but this choice node is not a choice. This is not a choice. You're always going to take Shield of Vengeance. But honestly, I'm fine with that because it's removing a talent, which is good. We need to. What Blizzard really needs to do is they need to make Blessed Champion 1 talent point instead of 2. That would go a very far way to helping bridge the gap between single target and AoE issue. Like in general, they just need to either reduce the number of talent points that we need for AoE, and or make them baseline. Like for instance, what they could do is Rush of Light. They could make that not just your single target holy power. They could also make it your AoE ones too. That would be nice. But yeah, I would like to see. Honestly, like if they did something like if they made Blessed Champion like 1 point instead of 2 for the same effect, and then they made Rush of Light AoE and single target, that would probably fix a good portion of the rest of the problem. Not all of it, but like a solid amount. And then the other thing I would like to see, I want to see Hammer of Wrath Cleave. Which is, if you guys remember, that was our Season 2 tier set. Had Hammer of Wrath Cleave. I think they should bring that back as a talent. Like 100%. That was great to have. It was fun. And it made sense. Like, why is it that our only generator right now, like literally our only generator right now that can't AoE is also our most iconic one, Hammer of Wrath. Like, I don't think there's any other class in the game that has an AoE execute type of effect. So, but yeah, it would just make sense. Like let Hammer of Wrath hit 5 targets. It's not a big deal. It would be so much more fun. They should totally do that. And there's many places they could add that. They could add it to Blessed Champion, just like the others. They could throw it in somewhere else, whatever. Also, they changed Vanguard of Justice to dog shit. You're just not going to take it. Its enemies hit by Final Verdict take 30 or 50% more damage from your next Divine Storm. You're just never going to take that ever. Because it's terrible. They added over here, they changed Judge, Jury, and Executioner. Divine Storm has a 40% chance to make your next Final Verdict hit 3 additional. Again, you're just never going to take this. I don't know why they put that in. I think they need to recook both of these. I understand that they're trying to do this like weird synergy between these two talents, but I think it was a fire and a miss. They sort of missed on that one. But yeah. And then probably the most interesting thing is they moved wings up here, right? So by getting rid of this, they moved wings to that spot, and then they moved Wake of Ashes up to here, and then they moved the choice node. Essentially, they grabbed this, they put it over here, they moved this up to here, they moved Wake to where this was, they moved Seething Flame to where Wake was, and then now you have Radiant Glory over here, which is the newest, most interesting thing. As far as I understand, it doesn't exactly explain it in the talent, but I think it removes wings, right? So, like, your wings button is gone, and instead Wake of Ashes gives you Avenging Wrath for 10 seconds. But actually, it's not 10 seconds, it's 13, right? Because you're just always going to take Divine Wrath. So this talent lets you become 30-second ret, I guess. So instead of 1 minute ret, you're 30-second ret, I suppose. Which makes sense for single target. Doesn't make as much sense for AoE because Final Reckoning is still 1 minute. But maybe it could be interesting. You'll sort of be. It'll be. I don't know if you guys remember Fire Mage. Fire Mage was like big bust, little bust on like a 2 minute, 1 minute type of thing. You'll be big burst, little burst ret for I guess 30-second and 1 minute, but you'll essentially have damage all the time with this talent. Because if you read the second part of it, your other damaging abilities also have a chance to grant you wings for 5 seconds as well. But again, assuming that actually works with your other talents, 5 seconds could potentially be 8 seconds, maybe? Question mark? I don't know. If this actually interacts with this talent properly, then you're suddenly going to have a pretty damn high uptime on wings, which would be fantastic. I mean, I've been asking Blizzard for fucking years, like, why the hell does both Holy and Prot Paladin have either a way to have very high uptime on wings via extendos, or simply reducing the cooldown on wings? They have some combination, or just simply procs of wings. They have all combinations of those. And in Ret, which is, as far as I know, the most played spec of Paladin, and also like just one of the most played specs ever. Why are we the only ones that don't have either a extendo, a reductiono, or a proco, right? So they're giving us a proco. If you remember Visions from BFA, this is essentially Visions, except for where 30-second ret, I guess. Chances are you're going to just be required to play this talent because the uptime is probably going to be far too powerful. I'm sort of assuming. Yeah, so it'll be interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. So they're kind of doing some weird cooking of pre 10.0.7 rework. Yeah, but no one played Mad Paragon. I don't think people played it properly, really, or like they nerfed it to the point that it wasn't really doing anything. And also, wait, no, that was also with Crusade. That was back when we were 2 minute wings. Like the overall uptime was like really not that bad. Like it really was pretty bad. We were 2 minute ret at that point using Crusade, and you got like maybe 10 extra seconds. Like if you count the total uptime of that was still far less uptime than current ret today, because 1 minute wings gives you a 33 to 40% uptime dependent on whether you take the 3-second extension or not. It's like 33 to 37% or maybe upwards of 40 or whatever. the uptime on that was like 25 to 30%. It was pretty low. Um, so yeah, and also like Crusade is just not great right now. And here's the other thing. People are saying, oh, Crusade might be back, which maybe it might be possible solely because of the fact that it gives you an extra 2 seconds. Um, it could be back. It's possible. It's too early to know. But the more interesting thing that people need to remember is now that we have a ton of crit synergies, I would think that crit wings might be better by default than hasty damagey wings, uh, just because of all the crit synergies, right? You're gonna get more Art of War procs. You're going to get more extends on Burn to Ash. You're going to get more cleave on hammers. Um, you're going to get uh, gigantic damage. Uh, whatchamacallits, hammer rafts. There's enough crit synergy that it's interesting. So, but yeah, I think they need to cook again on Vanguard of Justice. I think they need to cook again on Judge, Jury, and Executioner for sure. Um, and then of course, there's a whole host of bugs with Radiant Glory that they'll obviously have to fix as well. But it's interesting. I would love to test it, but can't do that just yet.